Can you imagine going to at the age of 4? With my 2 sisters and my brother, the age. I've got a picture of us at the convent at the age of 4. Can you believe it? I was a fairy standing on the seat. And you imagine at that age already dressed up in fancy dress. We didn't learn much science, but we learned a lot about ourselves, you know. We learned a lot about drama. We were always doing Gilbert and Sullivan operas and fancy dresses and eurythmics and exercises and hockey. I was a captain of the hockey team at our convent school. St Dominic's, we played other schools, all white, of course. And when my father died when I was 3 and left my mother with 4 children, I think it was difficult to be a widow in those days. We're talking about 1930. Difficult to be a widow. Anyhow, so my auntie had a hotel in Newcastle, and so we were all sent to the St Dominic's Convent at Newcastle. And not necessarily Catholics, lots of Jewish children at our convent school. It was supposed to be a good school. That's where I went. I got tucked away as a boarder. Can you imagine? 5 years old. Can you imagine being a boarder to Methodist school when you're 4 years old? I was 4. My sister Pauline must have been 6, 7, I think, and then Cecilia was a year, and my brother was the oldest. And I also had a cousin there as well. I've got a picture of all of us at the convent school. We ran away twice, apparently. Because my auntie had this hotel called the Salisbury Hotel in Newcastle. My mother thought that if she's not there, at least my auntie's there. So my sister said, let's run away. So we ran away one day, hid in the grass, and went to my auntie. She didn't know. We went and we hid behind the piano, and the nuns came and found us. We did it twice, you know. The third time, Pauline said, we planned, she said, at needlework class, when you're doing needlework, slip out, at breakfast, put an orange down your jumper, so we've got some food. And in the needlework class, we'll creep out and we'll run away. And then we were sitting in the long grass, ready, far away, in between the convent and the convent school and the hotel. And then Pauline decided, I think I can't run away. I'm in the opera. We were doing Gilbert and Sullivan. I'm in the opera tomorrow. So we didn't run away the third time. We came back. And then we got used to it, you know. It's like an institution. Pauline said the nuns were very kind and they kind and good to us. My mother was never there for holidays. We went on holidays with the nuns as well. Pauline says we learnt our manners from the nuns. Deportment, elocution lessons, singing lessons, choir. I remember clearly from the age of 12, Sister Bernadette telling us in a what's it biology we were having? Look after your bodies. Always telling us when you grow up, look after your bodies, drilling it into you all the time, you know. In other words, don't have sex before marriage and all that sort of stuff. I was 4 years old. I was a fairy standing on the seat. And you imagine at that age already dressed up in fancy dress. We didn't learn much science, but we learned a lot about ourselves, you know. We learned a lot about drama. We were always doing Gilbert and Sullivan operas and fancy dresses and eurythmics and exercises and hockey. I was a captain of the hockey team at our convent school. St Dominic's, we played other schools, all white, of course. And you accept a lot of things. You accept, when you're not aware. When you're not aware, Tamesh, you unfortunately you accept. You're not aware. You're not aware about what the school is all white. You're not involved with being out. You're protected in a way, It's only when I told you when I went to this meeting held by Michael Scott, open your eyes and look around you and be aware. That's when I started being aware of where we were, what we were doing. Only when I was about 17. But all that time, I can remember now, for example, when we left from Newcastle to go to Johannesburg, we all left by train. We went into the carriage, which were white carriages. Everybody, it's just a norm. It was a norm. When you're small, it's a norm. You don't ask questions. This is just how it was. You're not aware. To be unaware is a terrible thing. It's when you're aware of what's going on, when you're aware of how people are living. That's when everything changes in your mind. So really, by being in the convent school, we really were, we weren't that involved in the day-to-day living if we were ordinary boarders of day scholars. You're tucked away in the Newcastle, which is 100 miles from Tuba, the bottom of the Drakensberg Mountains, little town called Newcastle. I don't think it exists now. They've got a motorway. You don't even go into Newcastle anymore. The motorway you bypass it. You're tucked away at the bottom of the Drakensberg Mountains, protected. You don't know what's going on in the outside world. The nuns did a lot of the work. The nuns did the gardening, they did the cleaning. The nuns were involved with a lot of the domestic work the nuns did. So we didn't notice that much because we were in a way protected from the apartheid behaviour, I think. Although we were all white, everybody was white. Now I think a lot of Indian people are attending the school now. I haven't been, I don't know what's happening to St Dominic's Convent. It's still there. Opened its doors to everybody, thank goodness. Creme de la creme, treated like, absolutely wonderfully well, no complaints. It's only when you're aware of the unfairness of the society, you begin to think how terrible the whole thing is.